Alright, so today I'm going to do a cleaning on that Mr. Slim mini split. Did two of them yesterday for the first time. That's the end result of one of them. I have to admit I was petrified in the process because of course they're not cheap. And there's the "you break it, you bought it, but this is mine," so I'd already bought it. So I'm going to start that off. I'm going to try and time myself today. Alright, so we got a Mitsubishi Mr. Slim mini split, and I paid somebody last year to clean it, and this year it's dripping black stuff when the humidity gets too high. So apparently I didn't get what I paid for on that, so we're going to clean them ourselves. I got 5 of these units, and we're going to take care of that. Step 1 is turn off the circuit breaker that powers them. So I got 4 of my heads that come out through this drain right here for the condensation drain, and I'm going to attach a vacuum hose to this so it can run while I'm working on that to keep that thing flowing through. Also, I'm going to run some cleaner through the drain line so keep the mold and junk build up in those drain lines down. Alright, I don't know if you can hear this when I put it up there, but on this end of the unit there's a drain that scoots back there. We'll be taking it apart here in a minute, but you can hear the drain sucking, so we're good on that. Alright, I'm not using a camera stand, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid actually off, not just open it. Pops open like that. You can see these, they just come up and you take them off. You pop. Just took the lid off the top there. These little guys come right out. So my filters aren't too bad right now, but definitely it was time to clean them. And then we're going to take off these vanes here. There's a little clip in there. Slide the clip to the right, there, and there, and then it pulls off from the end on this end down there. So we'll do the same thing for the smaller vane in the back. Clip, clip, and then that pulls off the back end. Alright, we'll take out our filters. And the next step is the cowling. Now this is not, it takes 2 hands, but all it is a bunch of plastic clips holding it in along the seam. There's no other mechanism besides that. And then there's 2 screws down here. And pop these little things off. And that's the only 2 screws you have. Alright, so I wrestled that cowling off. And as you can see, this is what the unit looks like when the plastic's off. So you go on top, you can see it goes on the back side, and then the upper coil has a little drain tray that feeds down, and there's your copper joins over here. And this thing is, it's only this is 6 years old, so that's what it's looking at like now. I hope it lasts a bit longer and that corrosion doesn't end up busting. And then over here I'm going to be taking this screw off up here, this one here, and this one here, and I take the roller out. But before I do that, I have to take the drain tray off. So I'm going to pop these clips down here like this on here. Take a screwdriver, put it right behind there, and get it coming off there, here, and over here. You see the whole thing kind of came down. You got to wiggle it a good bit when you take it down, because it kind of tries to catch up over here. Another thing is this little guy here, this little clip right here, releases this electrical connection unit here. And if you do that, it gives a little more play in this section over here. So if you just disconnect that little clip right there, that'll give it more play. The first unit I didn't do that, and I fought it a little longer than I probably needed to. Alright, so I rocked that thing down. It just came, swings down, and the only thing holding on right now is the tube back there. That's the drain tube. And there's the hole. And as you can see, the mineral deposits and stuff build up in the drain. And some of that's from just the dust buildup. It's actually gray, and all that's white because I did some sheetrock work in here at one time, and it probably created a little bit of a coating in there. Alright, now on this roller there's a spot in here. Let me turn the light on. Get a better video here. Hold on. See a little light on the subject now. Alright, there's a gap. One of the blades, if you can see back there, you can see there's a gap on that one there. On the end, if you see a little screw head, alright, that holds it on the spindle there. It's a little set screw. You go through there and take it off. And if you take it off all the way, don't worry, it'll fall. But you have to, it's easier to put it back on while you have it out. It's just a set screw, so you gotta get at least a couple threads on it. But just try not to take it all the way out, and you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, so you can see that screw in there. Just gonna loosen it up. And now I'll pull that off the spindle. Alright, so I've got the blower out. That's the end that the set screw's on. See the set screw's still in there. So when I go to put it back on, it just slides right back on and tighten that set screw back up. This is the end that has the open spindle, and this is that rubber barrel. It slides on the end down there. But it has to line up with that slot here when it goes up there later. Alright, and that's the inside of the coil, as you can see, and I'm going to clean this thing up and clean all the parts and put it back together. Alright, this is the kit. It comes with a 5-gallon bucket, and it's pretty much just a plastic guard that you put in, and it's got the brackets that hook up behind the main split, so they'll slide behind around the backside, and it's got a little tray that goes along the bottom. Alright, so as you can see, it's got these little brackets that go around the backside, and a little hoop around the front creates a nice little drain, and you got the drain down here. I cut this for my height, but if you have a shorter or a taller room, you might want to do it. I got it so it doesn't touch the bottom, so the water just keeps flowing right out as we rinse the unit off. You see it's on the other side there. You got everything contained inside. Little splash shield on the back that you just tuck under once you get the hoop on. Alright, now I'm going to spray this thing down with a coil cleaner. I just ordered this online. There are multiple brands. I just actually picked the one that was recommended on Amazon. Alright, it's just a coil cleaner, and this is a foam one. There's also a gallon mixer one that you use to rinse off a coil as well. I'm just using the aerosol right now. Alright, the kit comes with this plastic tape, and you do have some electrical connections over here on the side, and I went ahead and just put the plastic tape over that area so water doesn't get in there while I'm cleaning this coil and the backsplash. Alright, so I've already shook the coil cleaner and just spray. I just make a pattern so I don't miss anything. You do want to be careful not to dent your fins, because the guy who cleaned them before me, obviously he dented a few of mine. Either that or the installer did when he was putting this thing together. But it barely takes any touching at all to dent these fins. And they're a little tighter than a typical coil, so you can't just grab a coil comb and clean them up, straighten them out. You got to be real careful. Now, even though this foamer says no rinse needed, I'm going to do it twice and rinse with some hot water because I'm trying to get it a little cleaner than typical. I would say your every six month coil clean, you might be able to do it without rinsing. But this one I'm going to rinse. So I'm going to let it sit on here for 10 minutes. I'm going to come back and I'm going to rinse, and hopefully I'll... This is nasty down here on the front, so you gotta make sure you clean your all your fins and stuff back here too. I'm actually gonna take a brush to that, try and clean it a little bit better. The next thing I'm going to spray is up in there. And I'm not going to try and do the foam at the same time. Alright, so I sprayed the foam all over it, all over the coil, and all up inside where the roller fan rests, and on the drain tray and the vane guides. I'm going to let that sit. And continue cleaning the stuff in the tub. Alright, I'm going to let the scrubbing bubbles do their work for a little while, and then I'll come back and do a rinse and repeat. So these are all the components that I have out for cleaning. There's the roller fan. Now, it took me 5 minutes of spraying on it to finally get it to stop kicking out mold. And then I sprayed it down with Kaboom. I did the other one with the Evap spray. It's like 5 times more expensive, so I was gonna, since it's just plastic, I was gonna use something else, and so I'm gonna clean these components while the fluid is sitting on the other. Alright, so this is sprayed with Kaboom. All the components separated and cleaned. Even though the filters look fine when you rinse them, there's still some, you want to get them cleaner than just the water will get. So I'll let that sit on there and go back to the actual unit where I have it soaking right now. Alright, so I've cleaned everything in there, and I've rinsed it to the point where I'm no longer getting any black junk. So the coils are cleaned all through there and up in there. And you can see the spindle that we're going to put the roller on there. There's a little detent in it. So yeah, that's where we're going to be lining up that set screw that's in the fan. Alright, and over here you can see, there we go there. So that's where that rubber gasket fits in that groove on that side there. Okay, so I've cleaned this and rinsed. Now, a lot of what you're seeing is buildup of just mineral deposits and stuff. I think next time I do this, I'll spray a little CLR in there and see if that will help with that. Alright, so I got the parts cleaned up. Filter's all cleaned, and the roller. You see, it's a lot cleaner than it was. And I got next thing I'm gonna do, I took my drain assembly off of that and dried everything up there. So the next part goes on as a roller. Alright, so I got the spindle lined up, pushed back in there, and now I'm going to take the rubber bearing and put it back on this end here. Hard to do while I'm holding the phone, but I'm going to put it down and do it with 2 hands. Hold on this. But anyway, it goes on that spindle, and then it'll slide in the slots. Alright, so we're going to go back in there and tighten that set screw next. I can't do it without the light on, but let's see, where's that gap? There's the gap. You notice we got the little counterweights to compensate for that one vein being missing so you can tighten your screw. Alright, now that I got that on there, I'm going to gently wiggle this back into place. Don't force it, because you are messing with a soft aluminum coil, so if things aren't lined up properly, it won't go well. And just make sure your blower is free spinning. Alright, so I wiggled the tray back in place and to make sure my tabs are in there. Center one's on. Yep, everything went back in pretty smoothly. And then you have your little electrical thing. Make sure you don't pinch those wires over here. Stick them behind the, and there's that little clip there. Alright, so we got it all back together. I'm going to put those screws back in on the side over here. Those three. As is the case with every plastic snap-on piece, it's kind of spooky when you put it in because you kind of got to give it a whack in a couple spots. But these side clips over here on the seam, right down here, just go right into that groove. There's nothing special about it. You see a little clip in there? That's all it's doing is pinching on that. You just push in right on top of each other. Alright. Now I can put in, I'll put the filters in next. Slide them in. Like so. There we go. Now the bottom vanes will go on. I did take that tape off of the front of the electrical panel before I put the cowling on. I forgot to mention that. Alright. Put these guys back on. We want to make sure that we have our clips opened up. Moved them around when I cleaned them. Slide it onto the hoop there. Find the holes that line up. All right. And then we'll put the lid back on. Probably gonna need 2 hands for that. You just line the tops back in. And you push as you close. They pop back into place. Voila. All done. So, ready to turn power back on. Alright, system's turning on. And there we have it. It's running. It's in heat mode right now, fan's on medium. I'm gonna go crank the fan up a little bit. Alright, so I've got it back on. Everything's put together. This one's on heat right now because it's cold outside, but I'm running it and I'm going to run it and see I got a few droplets and pulling through the coil there. Dry that off. And we are good. Cleaning and running like new. That was 1 hour and 40 minutes total. Most of the time was spent actually scrubbing the roller.